So at the time of this recording, I am still involved in my relationship with my husband and partner. I have been living across the country, and that occurred about 7 months into our marriage, just because things have been getting so bad between us. I felt like I was going to die in the house if we remained there together. I was feeling like I was cracking, and I was invisible, but I was also a moving target, and I felt really desperate to break away from that experience. We were in the middle of the pandemic at the time. Lockdown was basically all over the United States. And he and I worked together. So we were working out of the same home in a glorified studio that didn't have any separate partitions, so there was no privacy. I didn't have my own independent income. I was working full-time in our business. And he was not being kind to me. He was seeing someone else, a young woman he met on Tinder, apparently, and he started seeing her shortly after, or who knows exactly. I mean, I feel like he probably lied about that as well, but I had just left because he was still seeing the woman he had been sleeping with when we married, and actually went on several trips with her, and had brought her to public events and parties, and it was just incredibly awful and humiliating and just ruthless. It seemed unnecessary. It was, I had, at the time that he had confessed his affair, had said, good luck. I hope she was worth it. I hope she's nice. Be happy with her. And he just insisted that we find a way to work through this. And he also admitted to being polyamorous, which, was, in my view, not the same as cheating, because there are different things you need to disclose and get consent, but that's a different conversation. But he did admit to being polyamorous and admitting that he had never been faithful to any woman since he was in high school. And we're talking about a man in his 40s. And we're also talking about a man I had lived with for almost 5 years by the time he admitted this to me. So I was floored and just kind of like, what the hell does that mean? Does that mean you've been cheating this entire time? And it kind of became clear that that was what was going on. And at this point, I think it was almost like, it was like, how much worse could this get? I found out you were cheating on me a week into our marriage, that you're having sex with someone else and not even touching me or looking at me, yet you married me. And now you're telling me that you have this propensity to fall in love with multiple people all at the same time, and that you've been doing this since high school. At what point do you tell this to your partner? And why would you be married? Why would you be in a relationship with someone and live with them? And it just none of it made sense. And, we were talking about I'm now a week, not even a week into my marriage. So I'm just like, it's like getting kicked in my stomach. And it was just like, this cannot be real. This cannot be happening to me right now. How is this happening to me? How did I not know this was happening? But even with all of this disbelief, I understood that, okay, you're polyamorous. That is okay. Why didn't you just tell me that? And, you didn't have to lie and cheat for years. You could have just told me the truth and given me the opportunity to say, I'm okay with this or I'm not. And, his response was, well, I didn't think you'd like it and that you wouldn't want to be with me. And I'm like, and would that have been okay for me to have some agency in this situation where I'm clearly sharing my partner without consent this entire time and apparently getting neglected in the meantime, right? Because now you're giving love, affection, and sex to someone else and completely not giving that to me. So it was pretty devastating. And it was something where, he kept insisting that this didn't mean that that it didn't mean anything about his love for me and that these other relationships didn't take away from me, which if I had been in my right mind, I would have said clearly they have, because I've been neglected. I've not had sex with you in 3 years. I have not, had an intimate moment where I felt desired by my partner. Even if I am not a hypersexual person, I'm still a sexual being, and feeling attractive and feeling desired and being wanted by your partner is still something I think many people want and deserve. So I wasn't in my right mind, and he just kept insisting that, we're talking this is trauma upon trauma, and it's just how much worse can this get? And it gets worse, believe me. But at the time I didn't know that. I thought this was the worst part of it. And he kept asking me what can we do to work this out? Are you willing, would you be willing to work this out? Because he knew that I had had this, cheating was my deal breaker, but he had gotten me in this really vulnerable position where I literally had just married him. We had just married in front of family, and our wedding elopement announcements had just gone out the day before he got caught. So it was embarrassment, it was disbelief, it was, love, obviously, but there were just so many things going on in my head where I wanted to flee. I was so angry at him, but I also was really just I just spent half a decade with you, building a business with you. We were designing a home that we were going to be moving into. And this is what I'm learning right now. And now, it wasn't as black and white as that deal breaker situation had always seemed to me. I would be walking away from a life, a future, a job, with virtually nothing. And we'll get into that at some later point, but I didn't have a stake in the business that I had started for him. I wasn't making market, and I was living in a home that he owned alone, that we moved into together, but he owned the home. So I was not in a position of power, and I was also emotionally devastated. So I told him that in order for us to work this out, we'd have to go to therapy. We have to seek therapy, and he'd have to show me his phone because I wasn't convinced that this was the only situation, and I wanted to see how bad it was. And looking back at that, it was just like, it was an impossible position for me to be in. I was clearly under duress in that situation. I was unsure of what I was dealing with as far as like, how bad was this situation? Was this a one-off? It wasn't black and white, and it was very isolating because he was now asking me to work things out, and I was considering it because I loved him, and we had just done this whole marriage, and this didn't make any sense. And so I was in this desperate predicament of having to make a major decision, emotional decision, about my life and my next steps, while trying to manage all of the feelings or lack thereof that I was experiencing, because I was super, super numb, and I didn't know what to do with that. I couldn't, it was like my body refused to let me feel, because it was too much for one person. It was too much to experience all the highs of getting married and feeling content and feeling settled, and then having that ripped away from you, and then finding out that like there's somebody else, and that there had been potentially so many other people, and not knowing what the hell, like not knowing who this person was that I had supposedly been sharing my life with. Because I had been an open book. And now it felt like he was just now opening up, and it was like, this was not what I wanted. This is not what I wanted. And you never said anything to me. Like, it just felt so selfish and cruel, because I had given him everything, and I was at an age where I wanted a family, and I wanted to not be doing this all over again, which was why we dated for so long. And, we didn't this wasn't a rush marriage. So it was just painful. And so I decided to sign us up for therapy, because that's what we did. And that's a whole nother story. Therapy with an abuser. Not recommended. But that's how we started working things out less than a week into our marriage. I can't believe I even said that. It sounds ridiculous. And I wish it wasn't my story, but it is. And I'm sure there are plenty of other people. If this could happen to me, and the rug can be pulled from under me, after so many years of cohabitating and thinking you know someone, geez, I mean, I just can't, this is a thing. But yeah, that was my share for tonight. Thank you for listening and for allowing me to share. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.